could take centuries to identify everywhere.
Resistance is futile. These words instantly hit Star Trek fans with an image of the Borg Queen and her cybernetic drones. She is undoubtedly one of the most threatening supervillains in the Star Trek universe. But who is this Borg Queen? Seems like a lot of implications surround the Borg Queen's actual existence. While some say every cube has one, other sources reveal the queens are identical and hence cloned. What we do know is that the Borg Queen is able to control her army and all technology that forms the Borg with her brilliantly circuited mind. But is the Borg Queen really the one commanding everyone? Or is there a bigger game at play here? Let's dive into exploring the Queen and her anatomy to understand this better. So without further delay, let us dive into today's video. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
But we need a better way to identify those with the mutation. Our testing method is too slow.
Does the Borg Queen actually command the Borg, or is she just a manifestation of the collective? To get into the crux of this question, we need to first understand how the Borg functions. The Borg has millions of cybernetic beings, aka drones, that form one integrated network. It seems their primary purpose is to protect the drone while assimilating every other being in the universe. Moreover, each of their thoughts, actions, etc. are interconnected, which could lead to absolute chaos if not controlled. This is where the Borg Queen comes into play. Think of the Borg Queen as the primary server or node linking every drone and the entire system with her exercising control. The Queen never calls herself the leader of the drones, but rather someone who brings order to the chaos. This makes us wonder if the Borg has a leader at all, or is more of an egalitarian society, with the Queen only present to think, offer structure to their functioning, and ensure the network stays connected. Additionally, she refers to herself and the Borg as being one, which means that everything that forms the Borg is incapable of being an individual and is more like operating systems that perform their assigned tasks without raising questions. Unlike what most people believe, the drones are not entirely machines, but more than half of their body is still organic. Yet they are incapacitated to think individually and hence accept the Queen's organization. So, the Queen may not necessarily be the commander of the Borg, but she sure has some control over the collective. The more exciting aspect of the Borg Queen is her anatomy, which drastically differs from other drones. So let's dive straight into understanding why she is different. What part of her body is organic, and what part is synthetic? Little is revealed about the Borg Queen's origins. In Star Trek Voyager, when she lures 7 of 9 back to the Borg base, the Queen unveils that she came from species 125 and was assimilated at the young age of 7 or 8. Post her assimilation, she took to her new collective and was now one with the Borg. But how she transformed into the Borg Queen remains unknown. What makes her stand out, though, is that she is more artificial than organic. The Borg Queen's skeletal structure is all cybernetic. Even her brain, skull, and spinal cords are machines. The only humanoid part of her body is her upper torso and her face. The Queen was also bestowed with her own chambers, from which she oversaw all the Borg operations. In fact, when the Queen ascends from her chambers, you can see a detached torso and spinal cord floating down and attaching itself to the rest of her cybernetic body. One of the reasons why the Borg believes in assimilation is to perfect the organic body by giving it unflawed mechanical parts. As the Queen has transformed from being part humanoid to almost completely a machine, she prides herself in being the quintessential Borg form. It makes one think of how many changes the Borg Queen might have undergone since she was first assimilated at that young age. If you think about it, the Borg Queen and her drones seem a lot like the robots from iRobot and their commanding AI Vicky. That's food for thought for you guys. Meanwhile, let's understand. How and why did the Borg Queen and Borgs in general assimilate other species? Assimilation is primary to the Borg life, but why do they feel they need to assimilate? When it all first began, Borgs used assimilation to understand diverse technology that was available across galaxies. They were raiders who attacked planets and spaceships to plunder and use the technology for their own benefit. Later, the Borg started assimilating beings from children to adults to absorb their technological as well as cultural understanding. understanding. Each of the species across the galaxy was assigned a number, and the Borgs had assimilated billions of them. While the reason for assimilation has remained the same, the methods for the same have changed across different versions of Star Trek. In Star Trek First Contact, the Borgs are shown using a probe-like arm to pluck out an eye and amputate a forearm physically and replace them with cybernetic parts. Star Trek The Next Generation followed a similar pattern, but they used surgeries for the switch. However, what we found interesting was the assimilation process in Star Trek Voyager, where the Borgs use nanoprobes to transform the individuals into a part of the collectives before surgically fitting them with their mechanical components. The drone's hand modifies into some form of tubules, which they inject the abducted species with the nanoprobes. The transformation is almost instant, where the inoculated individual's skin changes to a shade of gray, indicating that they are now drones. But do you know why the Borg Queen designed the nanoprobes? Let's find out. Why did the Borg Queen create the nanoprobe virus? Nanoprobes are like tiny red blood cells, only machines that bind themselves to individual cells in the body and modify the victim's DNA. They worked like muscles, forming mechanical and more complex networks, which send electrical signals throughout the body. Moreover, these nanoprobes help the Borgs repair themselves faster and more proficiently, both their cybernetic and organic parts. The nanoprobes also updated the technology within the Borg by integrating them with the technology they found across galaxies. In Star Trek Voyager, Seven unveils that Borg Queen found this microscopic virus when integrating species 149. The Queen can also reprogram the nanoprobes to affect a particular species as per their body type. We see this when the Borg Queen asks 7 of 9 to use her knowledge of Earth and humans to program the nanoprobes. The Borg Queen feels that they failed in assimilating the human race and will continue failing unless they completely comprehend the nature of the human resistance. And since 7 of 9 has been the only Borg to regain her individuality, she could be the key to programming the nanoprobes for the assimilation. The Queen also discloses her plan to assimilate every human on Earth by unleashing the virus in the Earth's atmosphere through a biogenic charge. This will start affecting individuals and slowly but gradually transform them into drones. Did the Borg Queen experience complex emotions? Well, the answer to this question isn't one-folded. In Star Trek Voyager, 7 of 9 helps 4 individuals escape in a ship from being assimilated, but the Borg Queen finds them and starts pulling them back to the Borg ship. She tells 7 that her compassion is a human emotion that weakens her and that she should let go of it. But when 7 pleads with the Borg Queen to let those 4 go, after a moment's pause, the Queen obliges 7 and lets the 4 escape. Now, if the Queen didn't feel any emotion, then why did she let these individuals escape? One might argue that the Borg thought they were weak and hence not worth the effort, but we feel it was because the Borg Queen wanted to manipulate 7 of 9. While the drones come across as emotionless beings, the Borg Queen seems to pride herself on being all-encompassing. She is cold-blooded and malicious in her mind games, which we see her exercise on 7 of 9 when they attack species 10026. The Borg Queen is also not short of adopting cannibalistic methods of dismembering drones in order to preserve herself. She is never satisfied with her assimilations, which shows that she felt there was something lacking in her life. Perhaps a feeling of being lonely, with assimilation being her desperate attempt to find a connection. Makes us wonder if 7 of 9, Data, and even Jean-Luc Picard were all victims of this loneliness. Although Borg Queen never lost her intelligence and strategic thinking, she did seem to lose her mental capacity during her brief period of isolation after the Borg Collective was destroyed. Hence, we say that her complex feelings and emotions had many layers. Can the Borg Queen reproduce? We have discussed the anatomy of the Borg Queen and know that except for her upper torso and face, she is all machine. Yet she seems to have mastered the art of seduction, and Star Trek First Contact also gave us an epic kissing scene between Data and the Queen. Although the movie didn't delve further into what happened after the kiss, director Jonathan Frakes revealed that it could be implied that they had sex. So, coming to the big question, can the Borg Queen reproduce? The answer is no. Borgs don't reproduce in the traditional sense, so we won't be seeing little Data and Borg Queen babies anytime. But Borgs do use assimilation as their method of reproduction. In fact, Borgs only assimilate species they deem adding value to the collective. As revealed by 7 of 9 that the Borgs considered Kazan an unworthy species and did not assimilate them. This was also because the Borgs were to achieve perfection, and absorbing anything insignificant would keep them from their goal. So, what happens to the children that the Borgs assimilate? Post-assimilation, children are kept in something called the Borg maturation chamber, where they accelerate the children's growth and transform them into adult drones. The Borgs also ensure that once a species was assimilated, every piece of information about them, whether biological, technological, historical, or cultural, was stored in the collective. No matter how minute the data, it all lived within the Borg. How does the Queen Borg travel? We know that the Queen Borg had her individual chambers in the Borg unicomplex, where her detached form lay whenever she wasn't required to be complete physically. She was capable of controlling the entire Borg from these chambers. But does she have a dedicated spaceship? Well, we know that the Queen often uses a cube-shaped starship known as the Borg Cube as her mode of transportation. The cube is massive, with a 28 cubic kilometers volume, and is made of titanium. It was also determined that a Borg Cube was capable of putting forth a challenge if 78% of the cube was dysfunctional. There are millions of cubes in the Borg universe, and the Queen can use any of them to travel. Additionally, in Star Trek Voyager, we have seen the Queen using a Borg sphere, a spherical ship to travel. Usual Borg spheres are smaller ships within the Borg cubes, which the drones use during assimilations and attacks. The Borgs have also been known to use an octahedron, which is a smaller craft as seen chasing the Voyager after 7 of 9 is rescued. Is it possible to kill or destroy the Borg Queen? What happens to the Borg if she is gone? The Borg Queen was first seen and killed in Star Trek First Contact, but she made a comeback in Star Trek Voyager, making everyone wonder how she had managed to survive. While many theories are afloat, here is what we know. As discussed, the only thing we know about the Borg Queen's origin is that she was assimilated from species 125. This means that the Borg itself has been around since before her assimilation. The Borg is a giant collective with plans to safeguard itself from all threats, including the death of its queen. But can the queen really die? The Borg Queen, as we know from her anatomy, is mainly a machine. This leads us to believe that the hive mind, or the Borg itself, is more than the Queen's physical form. That is why, when the Borg's Queen physical being is destroyed, a new and identical Borg Queen is instated in another Borg space, thus saving the larger collective. However, the drones connected with the Borg Queen within the immediate collective or base all get destroyed with the Queen. Now, why the Queens are identical is a theory we leave for the fans to discuss in the comments. We feel the only way to kill the Borg Queen is by destroying the collective itself. Killing only her physical form is like scratching the tip of the iceberg. While her cybernetic body can be demolished, the Borg itself will not suffer the consequences and will continue to thrive with a new queen, much like insect colonies. Star Trek Picard revealed how the Borg Queen managed to escape and survive every time. Can consciousness be transferred from one body to the other? In the case of the Borg Queen, the possibilities seem endless. But some fresh light was shed on how the Queen survives each time in Star Trek Picard Season 1. In Season 1, Picard, Hugh, and Soji are trying to escape from the Artifact, an inactive Borg cube led by the Romulans. Picard and Soji follow Hugh, who was formerly one of the drones and now a part of the Borg Reclamation Project, into a secret cell where the Queen kept a device called the Spatial Trajector, which has aided the Queen more than a few times. But nothing is really a secret when you are connected to the hive mind, so Hugh instantly knows where to find it. So what is this spatial trajector? It was a technology that belonged to the Sicarians, which the Borg absorbed when they assimilated the species. The device operated as a transporter that could travel up to 40,000 light-years. It was the device the Queen used to escape every time a single Borg matrix was annihilated. She escaped the Romulans' takeover of the Borg Cube, which was renamed the Artifact to ensure her physical body was not left behind for them to understand her technological build. So there we have it. The Borg Queen had an escape route planned, which we speculate is how she survived the first 2 times. The latest updates about the Borg Queen after Star Trek Picard Season 3. Did the Borg Queen return in Star Trek Picard Season 3? Spoiler alert, she did! In the season finale, Jean-Luc Picard encounters his most formidable adversary from his past, the Queen Borg. It turns out she masterminds the entire season leading to the finale, where she welcomes Locutus, aka Picard, to what she believes is his true collective. However, this time, the Borg Queen has appeared in a new avatar where her body is immovable yet powerfully connected to whatever is left of the Borg. She reveals to Picard how he and his troops have left her poisoned at the edge of space and without any worlds to assimilate. Her drones had slowly died of starvation. The Queen's vengeful comeback is not just to assimilate anymore, but to annihilate. Her return to the Star Trek verse once again raised questions about her survival, which we have explored earlier. Only this time, another piece of information was added by 7F9. 7 suggests that the Queen has some kind of trans-temporal awareness, through which she can bridge other queens from different timelines and realities. This could also mean that memories or the consciousness itself of queens are absorbed into the Borg collective frame. Thus, each time a new queen is instated, she regains all her experiences from the past. While the Borg Queen is killed once again in the Season 3 finale, only time will tell if she returns to the Star Trek world. How she returns will always be a point of debate. The Borg Queen has remained one of Star Trek's deadliest nemesises and is seemingly undefeatable with her multiple comebacks. Her intriguing anatomy offers diverse conclusions as to how she has managed to survive and her true position in the Borg space. Nonetheless, Season 3 of Star Trek Picard did bring a new look to the Queen as we knew her, and one we don't mind seeing again. Let us know your thoughts on the Borg Queen in the comments below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
We were very close, you and I. You can still hear our song.